Alright everybody, welcome to my office area where I'm going to be doing a review of this video that I did not too long ago about riding Romeo. And I had some great questions that kind of came through on what I meant when I was explaining a few of the things while riding. And in this format I'm able to play it back and talk about it at the same time. So hopefully this will be interesting. Let's start. Thanks. There, that's it. That's all I want to have to do. I'm going to try to stop. Ooh. It's not bad. All right. Let's stop that there for a second. I want to talk a little bit about getting horses to go and stop. The most, in my opinion, the absolute most basic activity you could do while riding is to go and stop. Now, some horses, when riding, they become very edgy or jumpy. When you ask them to go, they sort of feel like they're jumping under their boots to get going rather than a nice, smooth rollout. And a lot of my time was spent with Romeo working on that kind of thing. You tend to want to get going. You have a lot of energy or a lot of get up and go, as it may seem. But the thing is, if you weren't riding him and you watched him walk around, he would not do that. So we must make an assumption, I guess, at that point that it's human caused. So when I'm asking him to go, I'm concentrating on having him reach back to me as we go. So if I want a quick go, I'll ask for a quick go. If I want a slow go, I'll ask for a slow go. And if we just roll back a little bit here to the beginning, and slightly come in, there. That's going to turn down the audio there. When I get him to go, we'll pause that again. We'll come back, and if you watch, roll back a little more, watch what my legs do. I'm just getting a little energy, my legs just barely come in, and then he walks off quietly. And I actually wish I had some kind of comparison. I don't think I have any good video that I could show you a comparison. Before, if you put any leg on him, he would go off quite quickly with his head high. So it's another thing that I really want to note in this video is his head is balanced with his body. He's not got it up high. He's not gathered in, bound up like a spring almost. And so when we wander off, we just plain wander off, and he goes off. He's got a good pace to him. I wouldn't say he's too fast or too slow. He's got a good pace to him. And finally, we come to this stop. And let's roll back on that stop for a second again. And his head position has changed. I would like for a horse not to change their head position when asked to stop. I don't want them to bring their head back and up. I want them to just slow their feet. And plenty of horses that don't really slow down that well or get worried or concerned, their feet don't respond so much as their head and neck sort of comes up and back, so that the pressure being placed on them, because we're using our hands to stop in this case, they can relieve that pressure. And I find, or I believe that I find, that plenty of these horses that bring their head up, back, have usually had too much pressure on their nose or in their mouth or clamping, things like that. And when that happens, to relieve that, because their feet don't react fast enough, they have too much inertia, too much body mass going in a direction, which is the inertia of their body, is too much, that to respond to the heavy or hard hands they might be experiencing. So plenty of them will get a behavioral change when it comes to asking to stop, even if you're putting the lightest of pressures. If we just roll back again and watch how much pressure I put on these reins, stop, they just barely go a little tight. Just barely, just a couple of hairs in there where the line actually goes taut. And we'll just watch that one last time, just to be sure. There, and there, a little there, and a little bit there, and there. And then I get them to back up a bit. So before we get into the backup, I just want to cover that. When I request a horse to stop, I don't want the yank on them. I don't want to fight. I don't want to need gloves because my hands get worn out from pulling on them. And as such, it's important that they respond to the lightest touch. To get a horse to respond to the lightest touch is to make sure that you release at the lightest give. It takes some, I'm not perfect, but I think I'm not bad at it and can keep it up pretty good. The horse, better for them. Okay, let's shuffle forward a little bit more. We'll start talking about the backup, because there's a point in here that I think was not questioned, but had a question on that I'd like to discuss. So let's go a little further in this. There he brings his head down, but it's not quite what I want. I'll wait, a little more. There's a little release, a little bit. It's almost there. I gave up. I didn't quite finish what I was hoping to get for a backup, but he did pretty good. It was light. There wasn't a lot of effort to get him to do that, but I still want his head down. So let's watch that backup one more time. And see, where was it at? Here. There. He's starting to give. There he gives, but he does that little head shake movement. Let's watch that one more time. Come in. I'm asking for the backup. He knows. Moves. But he isn't, I don't know if you can tell, but he isn't reaching back at all. He's just doing it out of muscle memory. He's backing up out of muscle memory. In the very first bit, he sort of gives, but he gives that little nose bump in and out. And a lot of horses will do, I feel a lot of horses will do this, because they just get held in and they're testing, they're seeing, do they have that freedom? Can they move their nose out? Are they going to continue to be forced in? And they'll check that out as much as they can. But they'll just go back. It's almost like a jack in the box. They just keep putting their head up. And you just want them to just sort of stay down, chill out, have a good vertical, I guess you could call it, something that looks quiet. So we'll continue on. And if I had quit right about just before this, roll that back a second, I'll show you again. If I had quit right there, it would have been better than to continue to try to get even more out of him. He's already in a fantastic position. We don't need 90 degrees in. A little over 90 is definitely, or under? Yeah, under. Probably like 70 to 80 degrees of that nose being perpendicular to the ground, or the nose bone being perpendicular to the ground. A lot of people talk about having a 90-degree vertical. I don't really find it totally necessary. It's a show thing. But for him to sort of give and not really argue with the hands at all, it's not that he is here. He's actually a great example, but not quite what I want. But anyways, if I'd quit there, instead of continued on trying, see his head's coming up and he's starting to wonder, when am I ever going to give up on him? Doing the backup. So I pet him. I always pet when we start. And here again, I want to get a very nice, quiet go, a little bit of energy, and always pet, always reassure. let them know that they're good horses and all that kind of stuff. So here we'll get a soft go again. My legs come in a smidge. He checks over, says, okay, let's do this. And he's relaxed, his head is down, his neck is straight. It's good. He's got a bit of a pace to him. So we're just going to hold. There's a little more resistance this time. We'll just keep trying. We'll pull and release a little. See if he does this again. There, he's got it pretty good. So that's a little behind the vertical. I don't need that, but he gave as much as that. We definitely want to give up before too much behind the vertical happens. At least I believe so. There's a nice give. It'd be nice if he kept his head a little lower, but he is looking out, seeing what the other horses are doing, and horses need their eyes to be able to do that. So we'll let him be for that. Get another go. Getting ready, and he's off. Actually, another thing to quickly note here, I'm just going to roll this back a second. As I'm talking through this, and I'm saying I'm going to ask for a little energy, and I start to sit up. And as I start to sit up, you see his ear come over, his eyes sort of blink and a little bit softy soft there. And we're off. So he knew that I had sat up a little bit straighter. We'll watch that one more time. Let's go over this one more time. It's the subtle things, I think, that make the difference. So here I'll get ready to sit up in a second here. There I'm sitting up straighter, I'm getting ready, my leg imperceptibly moves, and we're off. A nice soft walk. He's getting closer to Luke, so he's getting kind of excited. He likes playing. Ask for a stop. And then we'll ask for a backup. He's not really with me yet. He's not there. Is there? I got an ear. Checking that out. Come in, come down. And right there is that same behavior where they go down, out, up. And it's a very common behavior that I want to try to encourage him not to try. And not through excessive holding in either. I don't want to bring him in tighter. I'll hold sort of firm. You can see the line is straight here. So I'm sort of holding a bit of pressure on there. It's not going to go away. So let's watch that one more time. And come to this backup. So I'll ask for these steps. I'm releasing every time. He goes all the way down, out, and up. Now wait. Go a little bit more. There's a good give. There's a good give. There's a good give. That's a fantastic give. That's a great... I'm praising myself, but literally I think that was a fantastic spot to stop at. Based on what we say. Let's just watch that one more. As I go to back up. It's a little give there. It's a little down and up. There's a down, little up, but he's soft on it. Just go all the way back to the beginning of that. One last time. We'll watch that back up. So release every time. Just light pressure, light. If that. I mean, it's... Yeah. Good. And that's what we want. That's a nice, soft horse that can think its way through the activity. He's relaxed. So that's what I wanted to sort of cover, that movement that I don't want, where the head comes down and then up, or down, out, back up. We'd like that not to happen. So get another soft go here, and then off we go up the arena, doing some turns, weaving it, weaving. His head high again, but he's keen to go up the hill. He's keen to get going. Just keep practicing. It's a little bit of a bump on the nose there. But let's roll that back for a second. Show you guys one more. He's braced a little against it. We want to release as often as possible. Down, punch into the nose there. Does it just a little. Try again. There, bump. We just keep asking until he sort of softens into it a bit. There you go. Now these types of behaviors, when they're put into the horse, I'll just keep playing this. When they're put into the horse, they last a long time. They take quite a while to take back out of them after they've been put in, probably for a long time. And they get used to sort of being hard here. Here I'm just asking for a right-hand turn, and he's hard on it. Just sort of resists it. Not in a bad way. Maybe he just doesn't quite know. He does know how to do flexion. If I were to ask that, I'm not quite asking that. I'm actually just asking him to turn his butt. He might not know it. So I never look at it as in really he's in trouble or he's trying to resist or he's being sort of a bad horse or something like that. But just like all the backups and stops and stuff, we want to make sure that we stay consistently asking until we don't have to be overly persistent per se, but I mean, if you weren't getting something and it was causing some trouble and everybody was feeling uncomfortable, then it's no use really keeping on going. But here, you know, you're just asking for a nice light, some good stopping. I'll ask for a backup. If you didn't give a backup right away, just don't give up. Just keep kind of trying. Ask for that soft backup. Once you get into something, you got to commit to it and keep it going. There's plenty of times I'll be teaching and I'll say, okay, we'll have a stop, and they'll sort of ask for a stop, and the horse will go another 3-4 steps, and then they say, okay, well, you know, it's kind of good enough. But it really does introduce a lot of wishy-washiness to the program that horses generally aren't big fans of. I think they get confused. And in turn, you end up teaching them that you're wishy-washy. You kind of aren't looking for, I don't know about perfection, but good, consistent responses to requests. So that's what this video is really about, is getting good, consistent requests by being good and consistent about the requests, or get good, consistent responses based on asking for good, consistent requests. And being fair about it. We're not going to give them a hard time. When I want them to go, it should be the lightest. When I ask them to stop, it should be the lightest. When I ask them to turn, we worked on plenty, it should be light. And in conjunction with this, my body position changes as well. So I want him to respond to that. And we get into that. But in this video is the Jack in the Box, talking about how the nose pokes out and fights the, in this case, a hackamore, and doesn't respond lightly, I guess you could say. So, anyways, I hope that helps. Hopefully that's been interesting. Has answered a few questions out there, and if not, let me know in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them. So, thanks for watching.